In this episode of µCast, I'll give you a brief introduction to the Cloud Compile feature of the Onion Cloud. If you've ever written and compiled code in a Linux environment, you know that it requires certain tools that won't fit locally on the Omega, which means historically you didn't really have a way to compile C or C++ code directly on the Omega. In fact, when the Omega was first released, you had to set up a cross-compile environment to compile on another machine and then transfer the output to your Omega. Gross. With the Cloud Compile app, you write code, compile it in the Onion Cloud, and can even deploy it directly to devices. Let me show you how it works. Before we get started here, the standard preparatory things apply. Your Omega should be plugged in and associated with your Onion Cloud account. If you haven't done that, go ahead and watch episode 25 of µCast, where I cover how to do that. Okay, today we're going to be talking about Cloud Compile. So let's go ahead. I'm on my Onion dashboard here, the Cloud dashboard. I'm going to click on Cloud Compile. Now, just really quick before we go through an example, the flow for this is going to be create a folder on your local machine, put all of your project files in it, do your development work, zip that folder up, and start a Cloud Compile job with it. And so the first thing that we need to do is create a Cloud Compile project. And to do that, we'll come up in the upper right-hand corner here and do New Project. Project name, we'll say First Cloud Compile. Description, something, whatever you want there. And then the project type, right now you can choose between C and C++. Again, as with most of these videos that I do, this is very early. I assume they're going to continue to iterate on this. The team over at Onion HQ does an amazing job of making these videos out of date very quickly. And so I imagine there'll be more project types in the future. For now, because this is just an intro, we're going to skip this linked libraries option and just go ahead and do create project. So now that we have our project, we'll go ahead and click on it. And this brings us to the Cloud Compile dashboard. And before we start a new compile, let's get some files and a project going. And to save time, I created a folder here. Remember, all of your files should be in a folder because you're going to need to zip it up. Just hello world. And then I have a hello.cpp file here. Nothing fancy. It's just including IOStream and then printing out compiled in the cloud just for the Omega. And just to illustrate something, I'm going to go ahead and take off that closing semicolon there and save this. And what I will do is I'm going to zip up the entire folder so that it's ready for the Cloud Compile. And what we'll do here in our dashboard is do a start a new compile, and it says drag your files here. So I'm going to drag that folder. Remember, it was a folder hello world with just the hello.cpp file in it, zipped up. I'm going to drag it and drop it there. And now the comment on this dialog box, as far as I can tell, is never used anywhere, which is a little frustrating. I've submitted it as feedback. It would be nice to see it, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But what I would like to do here is something like this and give this a version number as the comment. And then we'll do start compile. And you'll see the output here. I wanted to show you an error before I did a successful compile. Is you'll get the actual output from running the commands in the cloud. You can see it's expecting a semicolon before the return, and the status is error, and it kind of helps us out, just like this would look compiling on your local machine with your normal development tools. So the way that we fix this is we'll come back into our project here on our local machine, add the semicolon in, save, and then I will have to delete the zip file that I used before and re-zip up the folder. So you can see that this process can get a little tedious. I imagine in the future we may see something in the Onion Cloud where we can edit these files there and recompile them, but right now you have to zip them up and upload them yourself. So what we'll do next is do a new compile since that first one failed. And again, it says drag your files here. And I'll just give this, I know this isn't the proper way to version these, so bear with me. I'll drag up the hello world.zip and do a start compile. and you'll see that the status is done. It compiled successfully. So the other thing I'd like to point out at this point is the history, the compile history. These are sorted from newest to oldest. So this bottom one is our error compile that we just did without the semicolon. And then the top one is the one that we just did that succeeded. Okay, so what this means is that our project has compiled in the Onion Cloud and it is ready to be deployed to one or many Onion Omegas. And this is where you need to have your device associated so that it will show up. You can see I have the µCast Omega that I've been using in these screencasts, and I can choose that. And then right here is the output. So by default, it's going to want to take your binary, name it a.out, stick it on the root folder, and then you can click on deploy here and send it down to your Omega, which is really awesome. It's cool that you can compile it in the cloud here and then deploy it straight out to your Omega. Now, one thing to know about this is that let's just say I don't want it to go into root. I want it to go into a folder called tools and have a name of test. I'm going to go ahead and hit deploy. You'll see that I get binary not successfully deployed to µCast Omega. And that's because this will not create folders for you. And I do not have a tools folder at this point. So we can fix that easy enough. I'm SSH'd into my Omega here. Just do a makedir tools so you can see it there. Come back over and now I will hit deploy. You'll see binary deployed to µCast Omega, which is pretty cool. So if we come over to our Omega, we can cd into that folder and run it. You'll see compiled in the cloud just for the Omega. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's make a change to this and let's see how the workflow might work for a project that you're working on. So I'm going to come back up to my hello.cpp file here, and I'm going to add, this is an error. Inline it, save it, and again, we'll delete our old zip file, recompress it so we have a new one, come back to the dashboard, create a new compile. Again, I don't know why I changed these comments at this point because like I said, they don't show up anywhere. Drag my new zip file and I'll do start compile. And that'll go ahead and compile. So just as a plug for the feature that I submitted, it'd be nice to see the comment here. So you can see how if you had 10 or 15 of these compiles, it'd be nice to come back and other than having this system generated name for it, this RJMH-H04ML, if you at least could see the comment here, you could use it sort of as a versioning system. And so that succeeded. I have this. I'm going to go ahead and deploy it. I'm going to come back over to my Omega and I'm going to run test again. And oh, there we go. This is an error. Oh, shoot. Now I've got an error in my program. This might be something where you've made a change, you've deployed it, and you find out, oh, this is no good. I broke something. I need to roll back. Well, the Onion Cloud Compile feature has you covered on that because not only is this history a visual history of whether it succeeded and what the output was, but it also stores the binary output from each of those compiles. So all we need to do in this case is go back to this previous version that didn't have our error and hit deploy. It'll redeploy it to our Omega. We can come back over to it, run test again, and you can see, oh, great, the error is gone and everything is right in the world again. So just a quick recap for using the Cloud Compile app. The workflow here is to create a folder on your local machine, put all of your development files. It does not have to be a single file like we did. This was just a simple example. I have used other projects that have lots of files, a bunch of header files. The Cloud Compile seems to handle that just fine. When you are done writing your code, you're going to zip that up into a zip file. Go into the Cloud Compile app, create a new project, add a new compile, upload your file, and off you go. I hope you're enjoying the series on the Omega, and if there's something that you'd like to see, please comment below, send me an email, or hit me up on Twitter. I'm always happy to take requests and to get the most useful information out and into your hands. Thanks so much for watching, and happy hacking.